Welcome to everything you never knew you wanted to know about Jane Austen. She may have one of the most obsessive groups of fans in the literary world. They dress up, hold tea parties, and have weekend retreats. And, well, the Prince Regent wasn't immune to her charms either, as he had her books in each of his houses, and she was even coaxed into dedicating Emma to him. The dedication is so formulaic, though, that one scholar called it one of the worst sentences that she ever committed to print. It was very clear that she loathed the prince. And as she should have, because he was gluttonous and he was a cheater. But we don't actually know that much about Jane Austen's life because her sister burned most of her letters. Just before her own death, Cassandra took all of her sister Jane's letters and burned any that she thought might tarnish Jane's reputation in any way. As a result, only 160 letters remain out of an estimated 3,000. Can you imagine how much gossip must have been in those letters? Jane Austen's life was fairly short. She only lived to be 41. The cause of death is still unknown, but it could have been Addison's disease or Hodgkin's lymphoma. Some people speculate it may have even been arsenic poisoning from drinking bad water. In her short 41 years, Jane Austen published 4 novels and 2 more were published posthumously, meaning there are 6 novels in existence for us to enjoy. All of Austen's novels have themes of social class and marriage, marrying for love versus practicality, and Austen's writing is witty and she often adds humor to her commentary on upper-class society. Although Northanger Abbey is the first novel Jane Austen tried to publish, it actually wasn't published until posthumously. In 1803, Austen was able to sell it for £10 to a London bookseller, but they never published it, telling Jane after 6 years, "There was not any time stipulated for its publication. Neither are we bound to publish it." She was so angry, she tried to get it back, but they said she'd have to buy it back, and she wasn't able to do so until 1816. Northanger Abbey follows 17-year-old Gothic-obsessed Catherine Morland as she visits Northanger Abbey and imagines herself into her own Gothic story. It is not Austen's most popular novel, however, there is some consensus that it is her funniest, as it is a parody on Gothic literature. The first actual published Jane Austen novel was Sense and Sensibility in 1811. Technically, it was written by a lady, as all of Austen's novels were written anonymously until after her death. This was par for the course at the time, as writing was meant to only be a secondary activity for women. So putting your name on it would mean you were seeking celebrity and you would be looked down upon. She essentially self-published it, paying a publisher to print it and then giving them a commission of the sales. This novel follows 2 sisters who are removed from wealth after their father's death and forced to move to a small cottage instead. They are opposites, but both manage to fall in love in very different ways. Pride and Prejudice is Austen's most popular novel, published in 1813 and adapted 17 times for film and television. It was originally titled First Impressions, and this is the Elizabeth Bennet Mr. Darcy saga you all know about. Elizabeth is arguably Austen's most beloved character, her most likable character. Even Austen said of her, "I must confess that I think her as delightful a character as ever appeared in print, and how I shall be able to tolerate those who do not like her at least, I do not know." Mansfield Park was published in 1814, and while it was ignored by reviewers, it was very popular among readers. Austen's earnings on this one were larger than all of her other novels. This novel follows a girl named Fanny Price from the age of 10 all the way up until the age of 18. She leaves her impoverished family and is sent to grow up with her wealthy cousins in Mansfield Park. It is largely considered Jane Austen's least favored work. It lacks a lot of the humor of other Jane Austen novels, and the heroine is unathletic, shy, and dull. The last published book of Austen's lifetime was Emma, published in 1815. Emma is different from all of Austen's other heroines because she is rich, which means she doesn't have to marry for financial stability. She loves to play matchmaker for her friends, claiming to be immune to love herself. Austen said Emma was a heroine whom no one but myself will much like, but that turns out not to be the case. Emma is both charming and flawed, spoiled and snobbish, but she means well, which makes her endearing and human and makes readers fall in love with her. Persuasion was published posthumously in 1817 in a dual edition with Northanger Abbey and named by her brother Henry. This is also the point at which Henry spilled the beans on Jane Austen's real identity. Jane's last novel follows Anne Elliot, who was persuaded to break off an engagement when she was young, and she now regrets it because she's in her late 20s and cannot find a suitor. Her old beau is now a successful captain in the Navy, and this is a second chance romance. 3 more works were published together posthumously, a novella named Lady Susan that was written in letters, The Watsons, and Sanditon. Sanditon was the novel that Austen worked on up until she was too ill to write. And although people have tried to add on to Austen's 11 chapters, no one has quite turned Sanditon into anything worth talking about. Her books continued to sell steadily after her death in 1817, but seem to have really climbed when a memoir of Jane Austen was published in 1869. And now, of course, there are whole groups of devoted fans called Janeites or Austenites. Austen used the common marriage storyline to critique society, and she did it in a way that the characters grow and learn about themselves, and she also does so with wit and charm. So I don't know, maybe one of these piqued your interest. There's Northanger Abbey, Austen's funniest. Emma, her most charming and boisterous character. Pride and Prejudice, the most beloved. Persuasion, the most romantic. Sense and Sensibility, the most well-rounded. And Mansfield Park, where nobody would suggest that you start. But it does seem to be the least Jane Austen-y novel, so maybe if you don't like Jane Austen, then you would like Mansfield Park. So which one are you reading next? Which one is your favorite? Tell me everything. I'll catch you on the next one.